In this video, I am going to walk you through how to edit my HTMA client report template and just go over the features of it, what's included, just to give you an idea. So when you purchase the HTMA client report template, you will get a PDF that has a link to open this Canva template. So you'll click the link and it'll open Canva. You can do this with a totally free Canva account. Everything on here can be used with a free account. This first page just has a little disclaimer here. What I recommend doing is open the template. So then you have your main copy, and then for each client, you're going to want to create a new copy. So you always have this original template that hasn't been touched. So you'll open the template and then you'll go to File, Make a Copy, and you'll click that and it'll pop open the exact same thing in another tab. So that's really important because otherwise you're going to have to go back and delete everything, or you'll be able to get the original copy if you go back to the PDF and click the link again. But if you just want to keep one of the originals in your Canva account, make copies for each new client. So, and that's what I actually did here. This is a copy of the original. So then if I'm showing you how to edit and whatnot, it won't be messing up my original. So it has the disclaimer in the front. So you'll just want to delete this page after you read it. And before you send this to your clients, you just do that by clicking the little trash can here and it will delete. And then we get to the first page here. So before we get into the features and kind of how to edit and walk through it, I want to let you know that this also comes with an annotated version of the template so that you don't necessarily need to watch this video. You can look at this template, you know what needs to be changed, what can be changed, where you can customize things. It's all spelled out here in this annotated copy of the client presentation. So as you can see, anything that is highlighted in red is editable. And well, everything is editable on here, but these are the things that you're going to want to pay attention to just to make sure you're customizing it to your business and your brand. But basically, yes, everything can be swapped out, fonts changed, colors changed, put your information on, take my information out, whatever you need to do. It's all customizable, like I said, with a free Canva account. So yeah, so you'll get this guide that will show you, what to watch for and where to swap things out. So back to the template, the main page here, you can change colors to your brand color. You can, of course, just leave it be. So you can do that. A helpful tip if you want to change the color on the entire document, which would make sense in this case, when you click the first one and change the color, you'll see down here, it gives you the option to change everything that's that light green color to this turquoise color. So you can click change all, and it changed anything that had that light green to your brand color, or in this case, this turquoise color. So that's one thing you can do. If you have a specific brand font that you always use, or you just don't like this font, you can select that and you would go here. You can change the font style. You can change the font size by doing that. So again, completely customizable to your brand. I'm going to put it back how it was. If you ever need to undo something that you did, never fear, because Canva has these great undo and redo buttons. So just keep hitting undo until you get it back to where you wanted it. Such an awesome feature. All right, so that's what it was looking like before. This photo can be swapped out as well. So if you want to put, a picture of, I don't know, yourself, or just any different picture that you prefer, you just come here and highlight it. Then you can go to Elements, and that's where you search for a photo. So let's say you wanted to let's put haircut and see what comes up for that. And so you search in there, and then Canva gives you these options. It'll bring up graphics, photos, videos. On this, probably a photo or a graphic would make the most sense. So whatever, you like or matches your brand, you can choose from there. I always use the photographs. So this will pull up some options. The ones with the little crowns, you do have to pay for those or have a paid Canva account. So just be mindful of that. So if you're using the free account, you're going to want to find something that does not have the crown. And another helpful feature when you're swapping out photos or looking for photos, you can go up here and filter. So this one makes more sense as a vertical photo. So instead of, searching through all the photos, you can put vertical. And you can also select free if you have a free account. Actually, I think that only shows up if you have a free account. But either way, you can select free, you can select vertical to kind of narrow things down. And actually, I meant horizontal. I'm saying vertical, but I meant horizontal. So then it pulls up all the horizontal pictures that should be free. And then you just drag the photo over and it should just drop right in there. So this would be kind of a cool option. So you can swap out the pictures. This is just a logo placeholder. So you would probably want to just delete this completely and you can put your logo in there if you have one uploaded to Canva. You could even just leave this here if you don't have a logo and put your business name right there or something, or you can click delete and remove it altogether. Or if you like it somewhere else, you can move it around here or there, whatever your preference is. And then moving down the page, this is where I always just like to put in my client's name, my name, and then the date that I created or delivered the report right here. That's just kind of like a nice personal touch for them. And then you can update this here to your website. Oh, and this, you just click on the box. It's a text box. You can make this bigger or smaller if you need more room. But basically you just click there and then you just put in the information. I'm just making this up. Well, that's actually my name. And then the date, however you like that to look. Okay, and then you can update your website down here just to give it your branding. And then we have a disclaimer, which I think everyone should include in things like this. If you have your own that you use, that's totally fine. This is not legal advice or anything like that. It's just what I put in my reports when I delivered them. So I would encourage you to either leave this in here or put your own in there. And then at the bottom of each page going forward, you're going to see there's a page number, and then you can put your website in there again, just to keep it consistent with your brand. So you'll want to be sure if you take out any pages or add any pages that you adjust the page numbers accordingly. And you can just do that by clicking in here, and then you can change it to whatever you want. And same with your website. You can just go in there and copy and paste yours in there instead. And then the next page, we have just a little about HTMA. So I just thought this was also always helpful. Most clients at this point, if they've done the test, they kind of know what it's about, but it's nice to give them that little summary again, especially if you're just giving them this report and not going over it with them in person or on a live on a Zoom call. So that's what that is. You can, of course, edit, change it, take it out, put different information on here, whatever you see fit. And then I like to just leave a little personal note, just kind of saying here's what to expect in the following pages. Keep in mind, I'm here for you. And then you can change this to your signature or your name. And then this, you'll see, is a frame in Canva, these little scenic boxes. So that means anytime that you see that, you can drag a picture over and it will fill the frame and be that shape. So this is where I would put a picture of myself. So let's find here. So I just chose one that I had uploaded. So you would just, if you have headshots or pictures you want to use saved on your desktop, you can just go over here to uploads, and then you would go to upload files and then select your photos. It will bring them into your Canva account. You can also do that on your mobile device. So we throw a picture in there. It just looks kind of nice, makes it again more personal. And then there's that page and website you want to be sure is updated. This next page is just giving them a high level overview of what we're going to be discussing in their report. So the way I was trained and with Trace Element Labs, there were four main sections that we talked about with our clients. So many of you will probably relate to this. If you use a different lab, or there's other things that you touch on or don't want to touch on, you can edit all of this. You can swap out these pictures with your labs, like screenshots of the lab that you use. You can edit all of this text to match what you want to say. So totally customizable. Update your page and website. And so then we move into breaking down their information. So the first page here is your metabolic type. This client, for instance, was a slow 1. So you would want to edit that for each client and put in, whatever information you utilize or refer to in here about their metabolic type. And if you use a test that doesn't discuss this, you can take it out. You can delete the page altogether. You could put different information in here, whatever works for you. And then I made these little oxidation scales, scale graphics, because I just love visuals and thought it was helpful for my clients. This is from based on the instant HTMA analysis course that I took. But I had several people provide feedback that they use the other oxidation scale, and I know there's a few different ones out there, but I did include, if you go to the next page, one that has these energy types reversed. So you can see this says slow 1, 2, 3, 4. This one goes 4, 3, 2, 1. So what you can do here, and I kind of have instructions on what to do with this. If this is the kind of scale that you use, you would just come up and you can delete this one, the image, and then it leaves you that little grid. And then you will just highlight this and drag it up here into the frame, and then it will swap out for you. So depending which scale you use. And then this page, I try to make it very clear reminder that you want to just delete this page before you send it to your clients, because they do not need to see that. So if you use that, if you don't need to swap them out, just delete the page. And then we start getting into their minerals. So the first section is single minerals. Again, just kind of a little summary of what these are, why we're looking at them, the ideal range, what we look at on a trace elements test, and also for me, and I think a lot of you, focusing on the first 4, especially on a first test. So that's what I put in here because that made sense for my practice. If you want to change it or put additional info or take something out, you are welcome to do that. Everything can be edited. All right, and then getting into the client's actual chart. This, again, just has a little summary at the top. And then this would be where you're really beginning to customize it. Well, aside from the oxidation type that we already went over, or the metabolic type that we already went over. So the way that I would get my clients' results in here would be to pull them up on my phone. I would take a screenshot once I have their test results pulled up and crop it so that it's just the section that I want to talk about on this page. And then save it to my photos. And then I would open this in the Canva app on my phone. And you can then upload it It allows you to upload and then you can select from your device and your photos and you'll see that in there. And then it'll put it in this section here so you have it all ready to go. You could do the same thing essentially and save it on your desktop and upload it on a desktop, but for me, it was just way faster to take a screenshot on my phone and do it that way. So once you have, let me see if I can find some in here. All right, so here's an example. I had cut these or done a screenshot of these on my phone and uploaded them to my Canva account. So you'll see them here, and then all you have to do is grab them and drag it over and it will swap right into that. Oh, that was the ratios. So we want the single minerals. There we go. And it'll just swap right in there. But if you want it to be a different size or you need to move it on the page, you can do whatever you want with it. You can make it bigger, make it smaller, put it in a different area. That's up to you. This is just the layout that made sense for me. So you get their results in there, and then you can customize right here, like what is most notable in the first four. So again, this template, this client report is meant to be like high level, and especially with first tests, we're not trying to go through every single mineral, right, and completely overwhelm them. So I always just stuck to the first four, unless of course there was something that really pertained to their health, or their symptoms or concerns that needed to be pointed out right away. So these you can just get from wherever you reference for your client's results or, whatever information that you know to put there. I also offer a Results Snippets Library where you can just copy and paste. These are already pre-written out, and we're actually going to go over that here in a second, which makes this very easy. But let's get through the whole thing and then I'll show you the snippets library. So this is where you break down the first four. Whoever I did this report on before, they had a calcium shell. So I did include an extra section right here about that, just kind of breaking that down a little more. So, obviously if they don't have one, you can take this out completely, or you could put any other notes that you want right there. And then at the bottom of all of these pages, there's just kind of like an FYI summary of what this means. So it's pretty generic across any test. So I never really changed that. And then next, it's pretty similar. So it has a little bit of an introduction here that you probably wouldn't need to change unless you wanted to. You'll want to swap in their test results there and then copy paste or, insert any relevant notes that you want regarding that here. Same with significant mineral ratios. There's just generic information breaking it down for them at the top. And I just like to have these kind of explanations, even if you're walking them through it, you don't have to read through this word for word, but if they want to refer to it later on their own and read back through it, or they want to show, their spouse or something like that, it just kind of gives them a summary of what this page or these results are talking about. So we have the ratios here, and again, a section to put anything notable on there right here, which these are also included in my snippets library. So you can get those from whatever source you use or copy paste them from the library. And then we move into the recommendations part of the template. So the first section is just breaking down their test. And then we get into our recommendations. So then they have kind of like this nice all-in-one package. For this client, she had a lot going on. So I included this extra page of just kind of like a summary of what I'm seeing. So you could do this for any client. And if you don't, need to have any extra dialogue, you can just delete this page completely and move right into the recommendation. So the first page here is for the diet. So this is kind of like an overall, which you're probably mostly going to be telling many of your clients. So you can change that out. accordingly. This client was a slow one, so have a little note about that here. And then just some of the food sources, mineral-rich whole foods, increasing protein, that sort of thing. So again, customize this as you see fit. And then we get to supplements. I used Vicon in my practice, so I always offered that first. So I had this little thing written about Vicon, kind of explain what it was, how it works. You can even put the client's name on here just to kind of help them see that it'll be their custom formula. And then there was always, additional supports. This one is just digestive, but if you had any other supplements or supports, you could add them down here. And again, this can all be moved around. Like if you need more room or you want to just take out, let's say we don't just have digestive, we could do that. And then, you can add glandulars or whatever else you're going to be recommending. So entire page is customizable. Since releasing this, I did have a lot of requests for supplement recommendation page that did not include Vicon because I know a lot of people don't use Vicon also. So I did include a second page here for traditional supplement recommendations. This little table here is actually like a spreadsheet, like you would find in Excel. So you can add and delete rows just like you would in Excel. You can size them, all of these things. It's really cool. So what's in here now, you'll want to delete these. This is just an example, so you can kind of see like what would be going in those individual boxes. So you would delete that and just change the font. So let's do magnesium. And then you can make this bold by going up there. Or you'd want to change the color probably to black so it stands out. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. And then you would just go through and do that. So pretty self-explanatory. And you would put the quantity, maybe it's like 3 tablets or milligrams, however you want to write that. Frequency, when they should be taking it, and any additional notes. Take that out. So yeah, this table is very customizable. You can add a column, like I said, delete a column, add a row, change the font, change the size. You can do all kinds of things with this, just like you would in Excel. And then down here, I left a space for any additional notes or resources that you want to give them. So let's say you have a full script account. This would be a perfect place to say, for personalized product links and reordering, you can enter your full script link here and have like a cart built out for them, or however you want to do that. And then just any other note. This is just an example of a note you could put in there. So add as much as you want, take it out, it's up to you. And then I will say, and it says this on the annotated copy with the instructions, if you use Vicon and you leave this page in here, you probably want to delete this page. If you use traditional supplement recommendations and not Vicon, then you're going to want to delete the Vicon page. So you probably don't need both of them in there unless you're doing Vicon and you have like a ton of other supplements that you use. That, I guess that's one case where I could see that needing both pages. And if you do that, make sure you update the page numbers because I just have them both set at 13 right now, thinking that you would probably just use one or the other. Okay, so then this last page here is where the final recommendations page, lifestyle. So again, pretty high level. You can customize this however you like for your client. These are just some of the common ones that I would put in there for people. And then you can do additional testing and resources. So, reminding them to retest their hair in 3 or 4 months. Maybe you feel like this client could use a GI map. Any little note, I kind of mentioned like my 30-minute phone consultations and one-on-one private coaching, whatever makes sense for you and your practice, you can put notes there. If you feel like you have more to say, you can move this picture out, you can delete it, you can shrink it down. So just make it, every page, make it work for you because that's what it's designed to do. So yeah, that's the last page of the HTMA client report template. So as you can see, it just puts everything all in one place for them. It looks pretty and it's completely customizable. So you know your practice, you know your client, you can include as much or as little info as you want. And then they have something beautiful to take with them and organize if they want to revisit it or share it with a provider or a spouse or something like that. That's what it's made for. Now I'll briefly show you the Results Snippet Library because, again, based on feedback, I had a lot of people asking me where I got these little tidbits. So I used Jensen's course and the Instant HTMA Analysis app. So I would normally, based on the, what does she call it, a client report? I can't remember what it's called in there. But you download it and it's lots of information, lots of text on multiple pages. And so I would just kind of summarize what that spit out and pick the ones that made the most sense for each of my clients. So that's where I would typically get these. But since doing this and having so many people ask where I got these, I decided to make an actual library. And this is something I had always intended to do when I was in practice and just never took the time to do it for myself. So I did it for you guys. So that's what we have over here. So this is pretty cool. It does come with a overview, like a how to use guide that's helpful to read through. Two things about this. When you purchase this, you'll also get a document, a PDF that has a few different links. So you're going to see there's a link to the how to use your snippets library, which is this. Then you're going to get a Google Doc link and also a Google Sheets link. So these two things have the exact same information, the exact same snippets on them. They're just organized differently because I know that people work differently, like to see things differently, utilize things differently. So if you like your things just on a PDF where you can kind of search and scroll and do it that way, this even has a table of contents. So that makes it really easy to jump around and find what you're looking for. This is one option. And then if you're a spreadsheet girl or guy and you just love a good spreadsheet and like that's how your brain works, then you also have this version. So it's, you know, broken down by category and whatnot. So again, exact same snippets, all the same information, just in two different formats, depending on how your brain works. So once you get into whichever version you like, you're going to see that every mineral ratio and pattern has 3 different versions you can choose from. So it's going to have a long explanation. This is great for walking clients through their results or adding more detail to PDFs. So this is more like a speaking point, I guess you would say. A median summary is a little bit shorter, but still adding a little bit of context. And then the mini snippet is just like super short and sweet. So I would normally use either a medium or mini for the report template. And so we can kind of look at what that looks like here. The first section covers the metabolic type or the oxidation rate. So for that slow one, let's go back up here. Too far. Right here. So you would just literally copy that section, copy, and then drop it in over here. I did put a space between just to break it up a little bit. But if you don't like that many words or you have a client, you know, who already feels overwhelmed, you can just use something really short, one of these two. So this, you can see this long paragraph. The shortest version just says parasympathetic dominant, low energy, sluggish metabolism, chronic stress. Like this gets to the point. So, you know, that that could be used for other things too. If you're doing some sort of handout and you just want to kind of break each one down briefly, these are all available for you to use however you'd like. But on this report, I would use the longer one. So it does both slow and fast oxidizers. We jump into the single minerals section, so just following right along, and you can see again, we have the longer explanation, the medium one, and then the super short snippet. So that's what you can put here. If you look at the table of contents, we have all the minerals that are listed on nutritional elements portion of the trace elements test results. And again, I built this out based on trace elements or instant HTMA analysis course, but I have seen other practitioners who use like Canva labs or other labs make it work for them. They just use different pictures. I'm not sure if the snippets would line up, but like I said, I've seen them use this template for other labs besides trace elements. So it is possible. And of course, use these at your own discretion. If this doesn't make sense for something that the way that you learned or you were trained, then just take what makes sense and leave the rest and put your own information in. But this has been really helpful for a lot of practitioners. And then section 3, we can jump on down, has the toxic elements or heavy metals. And then we have the same thing, the longer version, the medium version, and the mini version. So go through all of those, and then we get to significant mineral ratios. Again, the way I was trained, this would be the autonomic balance ratio. So a little snippet there if you want to discuss that or include that. And then it has the different lengths of snippets for both the high ratio and the low ratio for each one. So you can see high and low, and we just go on down, high and low. And then section 5, bonus patterns and client education. So these were, again, the way I was trained, just some of the different patterns that you can see on a test. I included language for those there, still the same format, the long snippet, the short, and the mini. So you don't need to copy all 3 of these, pick one, or it'll probably confuse people. So we have 4 lows, 4 highs, mixed ox, calcium shell, the inversion, hidden copper. And then this is just some like bonus language that I thought would be helpful for you guys when you're either talking to them or you want to include this in, either this template or maybe in an email or whatever, however you communicate with your clients. Just some other little helpful snippets that I found myself using often. So that's the snippets library. It's pretty basic. This does come in a Google Doc. It's not a Canva doc because, there's obviously not a lot of editing that you wanted to do here. And it was easier it made more sense to deliver it that way. Plus then you get the spreadsheet. So you can see this just walks through the exact same things I showed you, but broken down into a spreadsheet. So yeah, that concludes my walkthrough of my HTMA client report template and the HTMA Results Snippets Library. If you guys have any questions, comment below. Feel free to reach out on Instagram or email hello@wildcloverwellness. And I hope that you find these tools super beneficial in your practice.